The Hoop Heads Podcast is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.
He goes, why don't you start your own company? I go, what? He goes, you should start your own company. I go, what? He goes, you call it Shane Co. Start your own company. I go, what am I going to do? He goes, well, look. He goes, my son's in 8th grade. He absolutely loves you. He thinks you're a great guy. He thinks you're a great trainer. And then he goes, I watch your rapport with an NBA player who absolutely loves you, and you helped him get drafted. He goes, you should absolutely start your own company. He goes, just based on those two things.
Shane Kline Ruminski is the founder of the National Basketball Academy, a professional basketball training and programming organization. TNBA runs year-round basketball programs including camps, clinics, leagues, teams, tournaments, and training. TNBA was established in Cleveland, Ohio in 2003 and currently represents 2 NBA teams in various markets spanning across the United States. They also conduct international basketball operations in Oman, Spain, France, Brazil, and Argentina. Shane played his college basketball at Bowling Green State University, where he was the Mid-American Conference Freshman of the Year in the 91-92 season, and led the nation in field goal percentage his senior year, while being named first team All-MAC. After college, Shane played professionally in Belgium, Turkey, Israel, Portugal, and France.
Hey Hoopheads, check out the Triple Threat Sales event this September from our partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball. They're offering $3,000 off their All-Star Plus machine, $1,000 off their Dr. Dish Home machine, and $100 off their IC3. Dr. Dish shooting machines are undoubtedly the most advanced and user-friendly machines on the market. Learn more at drdishbasketball.com and follow their incredible content at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Mention the Hoopheads podcast and save an extra $300 on the Dr. Dish Rebel, All-Star, and CT models. Visit drdishbasketball.com for details. Those are some great deals, Hoopheads. Get your Dr. Dish shooting machine today.
Hey, this is Brendan Winters from Pro Skills Basketball, and you are listening to the Hoopheads podcast.
3R Basketball, powered by Under Armour, is coming to Cleveland this fall. Get your 3-on-3 team together and register at ua3rbasketball.com. Prepare like the pros with the all-new Fast Draw and Fast Scout. Fast Draw has been the #1 play diagramming software for coaches for years. You'll quickly see why Fast Model Sports has the most compelling and intuitive basketball software out there. For a limited time, Fast Model is offering Hoopheads listeners 15% off Fast Draw and Fast Scout. Just use the code HHP15 at checkout to grab your discount, and you'll be on your way to more efficient game prep and improved communication with your team. Fast Model also has new coaching content every week on its blog, plus play and drill diagrams on its Playbank. Check out the links in the show notes for more. Fast Model Sports is the best in basketball. Grab paper and pencil before you listen to this episode with Shane Kline Ruminski, founder of the National Basketball Academy. Hello, and welcome to the Hoopheads Podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel tonight, and we are pleased to welcome to the Hoopheads Pod Shane Kline Ruminski, the founder of the National Basketball Academy. Shane, welcome to the Hoopheads Pod.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Excited to have you on. It's probably been long overdue. Wanted to be able to dive into all the things that you've been able to do in your career. A ton of interesting stuff, both as a player, as a coach, as a founder of the National Basketball Academy. You've been able to do lots of interesting things in the game. So let's start by going back in time. Tell us a little bit about your first experiences with the game of basketball when you were a kid.
Boy, now that I'm 50, I don't know if I even remember. So,
I know we're getting old. We're getting old, man. We're getting old.
I know. I think my earliest I can remember is playing CYO for my dad at St. Anselm's. I have a little unique story. Is that my father, my first dad passed away when I was 2 years old. And, my mom got remarried when I was 5, and she remarried a guy named Dan who played college basketball at John Carroll, who coached at Gilmore. And so he was probably the driving force to getting me into basketball, and coached me at, CYO, and did all the, had me down in the basement dribbling against the wall, and, kind of all the stuff that I try to do in training now that I learned from him. And that's my earliest memories, is just playing CYO basketball with my friends and enjoying it and getting better.
Were you playing other sports at the time when you were younger? Or was it always hoops?
I did. I played a little baseball. My parents got me into football, but I'll be honest with you, I did not love the contact with football, so I only gave it 2 years, and I couldn't remember the plays when they put me at quarterback, so that's probably not a good thing. And then I played baseball 1 year of hardball, and I didn't love it. Like I got hit by a couple pitches, and I didn't love it. I made the All-Star team my first year playing hardball, but I ended up playing softball, and I really enjoyed that, and played that for a couple of years, and then played a little bit of tennis and coming into high school. So I think because my high school coach told he didn't want to get me in trouble in the spring, he wanted me around. So yeah, those are the kind of sports I played growing up.
It's funny that you played tennis. That tennis was the last sport I gave up before I went exclusively basketball. I still remember, I tell people this story all the time, that the last thing I remember about tennis, the moment I knew when I was done with tennis, is I went to this lesson with a group that I had been going with for years. This is probably, I think I was in maybe 6th or 7th grade. I can't remember for sure, but they had these PVC pipe doorway type thing. So you were standing inside this PVC pipe doorway, and in order for you to not swing the racket back on a volley, so you had this, you were in this doorway, so you had to step forward to hit your volley. And I remember coming home and telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, I don't want to hit tennis balls out of a PVC doorway. I'm done with tennis. And that's it. It's all basketball from here. I'm done with tennis. So so I can relate. It's funny.
I think I played as a freshman as a JV player, and I never touched it till about 2 or 3 years ago. One of my best friends, Mike Baird, was like, "Hey, I want you to play tennis with me." I go, "I haven't played in years." He goes, "You're an athlete. You should probably be pretty good at it. We've been dominating doubles." So it's
nice.
fun.
That's cool. Where do you guys play?
We used to play at Menor-Heisey Racket Club, but the city just bought that. So, we play at Kirtland Country Club. We play over at Mayfield Country Club. And so I play golf and tennis right now because I can still be competitive without getting hurt. Yeah,
that's a good way to approach it. There's no question about that. As we get older, it's just impossible to be able to play hoops anymore. It doesn't happen.
The pandemic may have ended my hoops career.
I think it did, Jason. I think it did.
I play a little bit here and there, but I can't. With 4 kids too, that probably isn't helpful. But I just can't. I can't commit to playing on a weekly league anymore. It's kind of a bummer. It's sad. I think the pandemic did me in, man.
Mike, was Jason any good?
Jason's all right. Yeah, he was a kid who he tried out 4 times for the high school team at Strongsville, never made it, but probably became a much better player.
Oh, listen, I'm going to say this now.
Post high school.
Shane, this is a controversial hot take that I'm about to give right now. Any of those kids, Shane, right now, I played basketball and I didn't make the team. I play them one-on-one. There's probably like 2 kids that would beat me right now.
Jason's throwing down the gauntlet. Anybody out there listening? He's coming after.
If you were on that team, give us a call.
That's right. We're in. We're gonna make these games happen.
Listen,
I'm ready. I'm ready. We're gonna film this, put it on YouTube, man. I'm ready. The Jason Sunkel one-on-one challenge. It's out there.
Anyone wants to bring it on?
What was your graduation year?
05.
05. All right, there we go. Anybody out there listening, come and get it. Jason's ready.
I'm ready. Listen, I'm not going to say anything else. I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, you better keep quiet. You better keep quiet. You better keep quiet. All right. So heading into high school, Shane, talk a little bit about your experience playing at West Geauga. Obviously, you guys had a ton of great players playing during the era while you guys were there. Just talk a little bit about your high school experience.
Yeah, it was without a doubt. I mean, I played college, played professionally, but I think high school basketball was the best basketball of my life. It was just, just very, very lucky to have really good players around us and a really good coach and a really good program. And, I see some of that in some programs around here today, but not a lot. So I played under Cliff Hunt, who was a great coach at West Geauga. They moved on to Perry, and then he took over Lake Erie College and took them D2. Talk to Cliff probably a couple times a month. He is still a role model of mine. When I first was coming up, he used to kick our butt in open gym. I'm like, who is this? He's got this man strength. I mean, he's not fast, but he's just using his body and but we were 72-9 the 3 years I was there. I mean, my sophomore through senior year, we were 2 state runner-ups, 1 regional runner-up, and our junior year we lost in the state final, and we were deemed the best. Our closest game was that year was 17 points to St. Joe's, and we were deemed the best team in the state without division. Regardless of division, we were Division II, but. And we lost the state championship game, and I don't think I've ever gotten over that, especially since my wife's house that she won the softball state championship at West Geauga, which I didn't even know they had a state championship for softball. So, so it was the most fouls ever called in the state championship game. We had 6 guys foul out, and it was probably, just devastating. You travel, and it's you see all the success on the east side, with Chardon, all their football success, and Kirtland, all their football success, and you're in every time you pass in and out of the community, you see state champion, I'm like, we should have had that.
Yeah.
Right? Every time you want to drive in and out, it's a reminder.
Mike has a similar story I'm sure he's going to go into right now. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, it's it's funny to hear you say that and just think about, so here you are, you're 50, I'm 52, and I can hear it in your voice, and that you think about that thing all the time. And I think about when I was a senior, we weren't as far. We were not in the state championship game. I think we were in the district semifinal, but we played Admiral King, and Admiral King ended up making it down to Columbus, and we played them, and we were up 3 with 3 seconds to go. I had made a shot, got fouled, hit a free throw, so that put us up 3 with 3 seconds to go. They had to go the length of the floor, and they threw the ball down to Jamie Gladden, caught it in the corner with his feet standing on the line. He shoots it. It goes in. Some people claim that the ball was goaltended. I didn't see that, but I saw his feet on the line. There's a ref standing right at the baseline looking at his feet. That guy starts walking off the floor, and the guy from across the court at half court by the scorer's table on the opposite side of the floor comes running in to call it a 3. Then it went to overtime, and we ended up losing. And not that I'm bitter at all.
Wow.
Not that I still don't think about it. At least once every week, I'm like, God, how did that? Because again, you just don't get a second chance at those things. No. And it's amazing how the losses, there's so many wins, high school, college, that I couldn't tell you anything about them. But man, those losses hit hard.
Yeah, so for I think about my son's at my high school now, and he's at West Geauga, and it's just been a struggle because the program's been down ever since they let go of one of my friends as a coach, and so it's been a struggle to watch, and so I called Cliff, I don't know, about a year ago. I said, Cliff, can I have all the tapes from high school? He said, sure, I have them all. So I digitized them.
Oh, that's
right?
cool. Yeah.
So I got them, I put them on zip drives, and I got a copy for him. And so I'm watching them one night, and my wife's like, what are you doing? I go, I'm watching my high school tapes. She goes, the best years are in front of you. Your kids are here. What are you doing? I go, she just doesn't understand.
No, absolutely
It was
not.
one of the best times. I could sit and watch, because I'm sure you do. You're like, I thought I was good. Oh, I didn't do that.
Right.
It's when I tell parents all the time, I'm like, all you're going to do in college is watch film, right? Film doesn't lie. I thought I played hard. I thought I ran the floor hard. I thought you didn't do any of those stuff because the tape doesn't lie, right? So, watching that, I was like, gosh, I wish I would have done this. And it's amazing. We talk about basketball, right? And so, we had a point guard named Casey Hunt who went to Wichita State, best guard I've ever played with. He knew how to score, but was pass first, Shane, run, I'll get you the ball. I loved him. He was one of the biggest reasons why I was a Division I player and as good as I am, or got, because of him. He just motivated me and pushed me. But anyway, I called Cliff after watching some of these games. I'm like, Cliff, what the heck? Why didn't we run any pick and roll action? He goes, I go, with me and Casey, 6'8", and a great passer. He goes, Shane, it was the Bobby Knight era. Bobby Knight said, do not set ball screens. Yep, clear out. Everything's 5-out motion, down screen curl cuts. It did not exist. And he goes, if we would have ran ball screens, we would have averaged 80 points a game. You guys would have been amazing. It's crazy.
I mean, think about, so go back to your career at Bowling Green. Take that and take it from two perspectives. One, how much screen and roll did you have to guard at Bowling Green? Probably next to nothing. I mean, I can honestly count at Kent maybe 5 ball screens I was involved in offensively or defensively in 4 years. So you take that piece of it and then think about your ability to shoot the ball. And if you were playing in this era, that you just would have extended your range out to being able to shoot threes, and with the way you were played and your mobility and the skill that you had as an interior player, you would have worked on shooting threes. And I think about, from my perspective, just the sheer volume of threes that I would have taken back. It's just the game is so completely different in terms of the way you play. And when you're watching old school, whether it's high school basketball or I go back and watch a college game from our era, it's the game doesn't look anything like what it looks like today. It's completely different.
Jason, do you think we could get some footage? Because Mike and I played against each other for 2 years.
I was going to ask.
Well, and summer. I mean, we could. There was so much summer basketball.
Shane, is who had the better record?
Ooh.
Head to head.
I don't know.
I mean, head to head, my senior year, which was your freshman year, I know I had a good game.
I didn't ask about yours. I said the team. What's the team?
I know. I'm trying.
Yes, Mike went to the individual card immediately.
I'm trying to put it in perspective here. I'm just trying to think. Okay,
what year was this? What year was it?
91, 92.
It's my fault. Kent offered me my first scholarship ever before my senior year ever started. I should have gone there. I would have got to play with Mike. That's
right. We could have had a year. Could have had at least one.
1991, 1992. Let's see here. I'm going to figure it out. You guys
see, we got our crack research staff. Little did we know.
This is impressive. I'm not going to lie.
This is what we got. This is what we got going. Jason's on the research.
Yeah, it's going to take me a little bit of time. That's harder to find seasons back when I was 5 years old. So hold on.
So surprisingly, it's not at the top of the Google search.
That's right. You'd think that those results would come up immediately. You'd think there'd be no question about it. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I remember you coming on your visit. I have a vision of how you get those some things that you just have a picture of in your head. Yeah. And I really hadn't thought about it until you just said that. But I have a picture of you. I don't even remember where as part of the visit, but I remember you wearing your Letterman's jacket, your West G Letterman's jacket on the visit.
Very proud.
Yeah. So it's funny that's what I remember.
That is funny.
Yeah. It's just, man, a long time ago.
I remember my junior year, we were playing Ken at home, and I went up for a dunk, and one of your kids swatted it so bad, and there was a picture in the paper of me getting swatted by dunk. And of course, the next day, it was all papered all over, because good teammates, right?
For sure, absolutely.
All over my locker room, you got swatted, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, don't worry, next year I'm going to get them. And, we were up by 6. And Coach Larnega ran a backdoor play for me, and I just buried it on the guy, hung on the rim, and twisted off and got the and one. So I made up for it.
There you go. Yeah. That's it. That's what it's all about. It's a fun times. Thinking back to your high school career, and then making a decision to go to Bowling Green. What do you remember about the recruiting process and just what factored into your decision?
Well, I think I probably have one of the most, not most, I mean, obviously everybody has a unique story, but, it was a tough decision. And for me, I struggled. I had a bunch of learning disabilities out of high school. I had dyslexia, and though I couldn't pass the tests, the tests were just awful to me. So I went to Bowling Green on a visit, and I loved it. And I remember Coach L called me into his office. They offered me, and I accepted it. And then they said, okay, I remember this vividly. My parents are sitting there, everybody's sitting there, Coach Murfeld, the whole staff's there. And they're like, okay, Shane, we know you might not get your test score. If you don't get your test score, what are you going to do? And I knew this might be a possibility. So I said, well, I'm probably going to go to prep school. JUCO is not the route for me. I'm probably going to go to a prep school. And they said, okay, great. Now are you going to come to Bowling Green after your prep school year? And I'm like, Coach, that's your, I have no idea. I have no idea what I would do. She said, okay. We got home. He didn't even, Coach Larinaga didn't call. He had his assistants call and tell my dad that, hey, if Shane's not 100% sure he wants to come here after prep school, we're not 100% sure we want him. So my dad's like, okay. So that was it. Basically they withdrew my offer, after I drove 2.5 hours there and 2.5 hours back. And and so I didn't have an offer from them. I ended up signing at the University of Tulsa, out in Oklahoma. I went to visit out there, loved it, committed there immediately, with the hopes of getting my test score. And, lo and behold, they said, I took the test one more time and I didn't pass. And they called me and they said, oh, no, you passed. We added the score a certain way off your other tests and you're good to go. And I'm like, all right, awesome. And my dad was like, well, can we get a letter? And they're like, oh, you're good. My dad's like, no, we want a letter that he's good to go. Well, sure enough, a week before I was supposed to go out to Oklahoma, my mom had the triptych, packing. We're all excited, those AAA triptychs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're driving out to Oklahoma. Yeah, we're stopping. We're going to stop here. We're going to stop there. And they called and they said, hey, we called the NCAA and they won't let us add the score that way, so he can't come here on a scholarship. However, we're going to send him out to a junior college really close, and he's going to take the test and he's going to be okay. Then he's going to be on a scholarship the second half of the year. And I was like, I was obviously devastated. I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, it's going to be like $3,000 or whatever. So we took out the money, we're ready to go down. And my high school coach called. He's like, hey, what's going on? So I told him, and he's like, that doesn't sound right. Coach Hunt calls the NCAA, and the NCAA says, you can't do that. You can't be on scholarship the second half of the semester. They wanted you to go out there, basically go for prep school or go to a junior college for a year and then go there for 3 years. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. So we changed that triptych. We got a letter from Maine Central Institute, MCI. And so my Cliff called out there and they said, yeah, we have a spot available. So we changed that triptych from Oklahoma to Maine. And my mom drove me out to Maine and dropped me off at prep school and played for a guy named Max Good, who was actually the UNLV head coach a couple of years ago. So that was a very, different eye-opening experience. Every Big East coach was at our first open gym. We sent 10 Division I kids on scholarship that year. Now, the only good thing is I tell my wife when she tells me she won the softball championship. We did win a New England prep school championship. We went 26-0. We sent 10 kids Division I, but I will say it was a tough year. I had to learn to live away from home. You had to make your bed, and it was kind of structured, which was good. I needed that. But it was. I came in. I went to AAU Nationals with Coach Hunt and a couple kids, a couple local kids. I broke my leg. And I showed up at prep school. I had a stress fracture. And then I got very frustrated with the kid. I punched the wall, broke my hand. So, it was a tough year. And then the weirdest thing happened. I had a pen in my mouth. I was fake fighting a kid, kung fu fighting, and he hit the pen and went back in my mouth and created a hole. I had to have emergency surgery. So it was the toughest year, but I needed it. If I would have went to high school college out of high school, I never would have made it. I wasn't mentally tough enough. That year really went through a lot of adversity, a lot of, played against a lot of good players. And if I didn't have that year, I don't think I ever would have been successful in college. So I had Bobby Huggins offered me down in Cincinnati. I had like 18 Division I offers coming out of prep school. But my Jim Larinaga drove up to my parents' house, met with him for a couple hours. They flew out to Maine. We're like, look, Coach L said he was sorry, blah, blah, blah. Bowling Green was losing 7 guys the year I was coming in. So I was like, you know what? I loved it there. I still love it there. I want to go there. So I accepted their offer, went there, because I knew I could. My dad was like, and kids make this all the time. I talk about this kids all the time, like I'm sure you do too. When you choose a school, the problem is, and the reason why everybody's transferring is because everybody wants to play right away.
For sure.
And you you don't know how to handle it. You've played your whole life. You've never sat, and now, well, I'm going to go somewhere else because I'm sitting. Well, I knew if I went to Bowling Green, I'd have a chance. So I started my freshman year and started.
And you went 2-0 against Mike.
Yes.
All right, there you go. There it is.
Thank you. Do you have any individual stats?
I do not have any. I do not have any individual stats. The box scores are not available. I can tell you the score. You lost. Or Mike lost 71-56 the first game,
Ooh,
and that was at Bowling Green, and then the second game was closer. I think I said 62-56, so it was a 6-point loss, but at home. Mike, so you went 0-2.
Mike.
All right. Well, maybe it was my junior year. I had a good game. I have no idea.
I want you to know when I was Googling, trying to find the stats and stuff. I see you led the NCAA in field goal percentage your senior year. That's pretty impressive.
I did. It wasn't hard to make a bunch of layups.
68.3%. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess you might not have been able to do that if we were shooting threes. Maybe it might not have
See
been
the stats the crack research staff is on over here.
There's a silver lining.
Impressive. That's why you get paid all the big bucks, Jason.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Rolling in the dough over here.
It's happening. It's happening for him. It's all happening over there. Yeah. The recruiting process is just it's so interesting, and I think it's a great point that you make. Like, I know when I went to Kent, obviously you're confident and you feel like, hey, I can make it. But, I went to Kent with not 18 Division I offers, but 1. And, kind of, similar experience to you. Like I went down, and when Kent was interested in me before my senior year, I went down there and they said, we want you to come down for an official visit. And I'm like, I only get 5 of these, and I'm sure Duke's going to be calling me in Ohio State, so I don't want to waste one of these visits on Kent. I'll come down, but I'm not going to take an official visit. And then after that, I never heard from him again until after the season. I called him back. I'm like, hey, any chance you're interested? And I think the only reason that I ended up getting a scholarship at all is because somebody transferred last minute, because it was not until probably April. When I got that offer, and as soon as they gave it to me, I took it. But you just think about, as a kid, my parents didn't know anything. Coach Casey at Strongsville really had never had anybody that could have played at that level, and so everybody was naive as to what the process was like. And so I ended up in a place that was that ended up being a really good fit for me. But I came in as a freshman, and I played maybe 6 minutes a game, and especially in that era, you think about what the practices were like, and nobody was load managing any college teams in that era. You were practicing 3.5 hours the day before a game, whether you liked it or not. And so it was just that was a really tough year. And I never really thought about transferring, because where was I going to go? I was at that point a borderline Division I player as it was. But you just think about, as you said, the way that kids and the mentality is today, and with parents and as invested as they are in kids' opportunities, you could see where my two freshman roommates that both were scholarship players, they both left after their freshman year, and neither one of them played, and one of them ended up not playing at all. The other one went to Malone and scored 2,000 points there. Wow. I wish he would have stayed, because he would have played, and we could have used him he might not have played all that much as a sophomore, but as a junior or senior, he would have been a starter. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's not, people I think have this vision of what it is, and it's even different. And I think more difficult today when you think about what the summers were like for you and I. The season ended, you were just kind of on your own. And nowadays, man, they're 50 weeks a year on campus training with the same guys that are barking at them all season, barking at them all summer too. I'm not sure I could have handled that. I wanted to just come back and just play and, have some fun and get out on the court and work on my game by myself without somebody chirping at me.
I remember it wasn't mandatory to stay. They're like, hey, if you want to stay, you can. Of course, I had a girlfriend back home. I'm like, Coach, I'm going to go home. Okay, no problem.
Right,
I'm like,
exactly.
All right. Like, I think my junior year or my senior year, he like kind of tried to push me to stay, and I was like, and I should have, right? I mean, I absolutely that to be in that environment, lifting all the time. I mean, you can say you're going to work out. I did back home, but not like you would do when you're back at college. But I was like, that's one of the things that I regret. I was like, and I think I told Coach Larinaga one time, I'm like, he's had a ton of success, obviously, and he's great. I'm like, why weren't you a little bit tougher on me? Like, why didn't you say, no, you don't have an option, right? I mean, he was definitely a player's coach, and so today I look at the way coaches are today, and I don't know, I mean, I think they're a lot less demanding, but they're also, like you said, demanding of their time, where they have to be like, a kid I work with, Josh Irwin's over at Youngstown State, and he's there all the time. Like, he'll come home for a week at a time, maybe during a break here, a break there, but they're constantly there lifting and working on their game and working on their skill level and watching film and playing. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and they play so many games and they play year round. It's like, I'm like, well, maybe I would have, made it that next jump to the NBA. Who knows if I would have, had their regiment, because I was talented enough, and so who knows? It's crazy.
Well, you think about the knowledge, right? Just the knowledge base of what people understand now in terms of the training piece of it, the rest and recovery, the nutrition. I've said this before, but we used to preseason at Kent. We would have on Saturday mornings, we'd have like a practice and then an inter squad game. So we'd start at like 7 a.m. Saturday morning, and then we'd finish at like 10:30. So you've gone through the whole week, and then you got up early on Saturday morning. So you'd be wiped out by the time that 10:30 bell rang and you were done. You were wiped out, and then basically we'd go and sit at Ponderosa at the buffet for the next like 3 hours and drink soda and eat the steak and the bad macaroni and cheese and chicken wings and all this stuff. And you look back on it, you're like, God, how, like, what were we doing? Like, how, like, I wonder if we'd have had somebody like today, obviously every Division I school has somebody watching over what the players are eating and, that kind of thing. And Coach McDonald back in the day, like we were still eating steak for every pregame meal.
Dude,
so
Ponderosa's the bomb, though, man.
Hey, look, I was not complaining.
Look up the stats on Ponderosa in the 80s, late 80s.
Shane, calories, average calories per meal.
Listen, Shane, my parents met at Ponderosa. Look at
that.
It
holds a special place in your heart.
Yeah.
Special place in your heart. But I mean, you just think about that piece of it, or like, my dad was he was an exercise physiologist at Cleveland State, so he was strapping me to all kinds of like plyometric stuff. None of it ever worked for me really. So I could maybe touch the rim every once in a while. But you just think about the way that the knowledge that's out there today, and even from just strictly just a basketball standpoint, like think about what you're doing as a trainer, what you know today, and the things that you give kids today versus what you did or what I did when I wanted to work on my game. Like I had like one workout that I did the same thing. Like I'd go to the gym and I'm there for an hour and a half and I'm doing the same thing every single day with very little variance. And now there's just so much out there that you're like, man, I wish I could have, to your point, seen what my potential could have been with some of the things that kids have today, or at least they have access to the information. Because just like you, I was a kid who was going to eat that stuff up. I mean, you gave me something and I'd be like, all right, sure, I'm going to do it, or whatever. Whereas there just wasn't that information was just not available.
No, I mean, and you talk about the food, then you talk about the speed and agility and the strength part of it, and that, and the extra supplements, and then the film watching, and then you said the training piece. Like, those are 5 elements. You're just like, oh man, if you're that good, you're probably gonna go. I mean, as long as you're working hard during that, which
Right,
we're
sure.
competitive. You throw something in front of me, I'm gonna do it. Like because I want to win. But yeah, I mean, but no, hey, go home for the summer, do whatever. Like, all right, I'm lifted, hang out with the fam.
Right, exactly. I got my 2-page ditto, my workout. They're like, here's your summer workout. It was like 2 pages. Well, I mean, at Kent, I don't know what about BG, but at Kent, like our strength and conditioning guy was the football guy. I mean, he was the football strength coach, and I remember being like, it had to be preseason, but we'd go in and like once every like 2 weeks, this guy would be like, all right, it's time. We're going to do farewell to arms. We're all like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And so you'd go through the whole dumbbell rack, starting with like 2.5s up to like, 85 pounds, which, nobody's curling, but you'd have to do curls. You'd have to do like sets of like 20 curls with each of these things. And you're like, how is this? I mean,
how is this helping me?
Yeah, how is this even remotely relevant to what I do as a basketball player? But that's just the way. It's just the way it was. I mean, it was it was totally different. We used to do our agilities, so we would do. I forget. I think we would do those maybe like 3 times a week on asphalt, like jumping in and out of big tractor tires. But you did them on. We were doing them on cement. And you think about that, and you're just like, I mean. It's insanity when you look at it now with the knowledge that we have, some of those things that you kind of went through, but it was just the way it was. It's just the way it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. What's your favorite memory from BG?
Whew. Oh wow. I had a game winner against Ball State. It that. I'd be honest with you. I have so many great memories. I loved Bowling Green. I loved everything. I mean, it was so great that I was 2.5 hours. My parents came to every single one of my games. They traveled really well. That was very important to me, to look up in the stands and watch my parents there, which it was amazing. I'm sure you felt the same way.
Absolutely.
It was a small enough campus where I felt like I knew everybody and everybody knew me, but it was yet bigger in other aspects. I mean, I had I thought Coach Larinaga was a good coach. He wasn't great. I always tell the story like my senior year, they came in and Jay Larinaga was with us, and Jay was a really good player. He's in the NBA coach, and he was the associate head coach of the Celtics for a while. Now he's out in LA with the Clippers, and Coach Murph got let go the year after I left, and I was like, well, Coach Murph, what happened? He goes, every year we go in, we're talk about what we're going to do, and your senior year, I told him, I said, just give the ball to Shane and let's just get out of his way. If they double him, he's going to make the right pass. He's a good passer. And Coach was like, he's like, Shane, it was a week. We fought about it. Like, we fought and fought and fought. I said, give the ball to Shane. And he's like, we're not going to have one person run this offense, blah, 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 blah. So he's like, yeah, so Shane, you basically got me fired. I'm like, oh, sorry, Coach. But I think one of the best things for me was they brought in this guy named Mark Ivoroni for 2 years. And Mark had won the Sixers. Yeah, he won a championship with the Sixers. And so he really, really helped me understand the game from a mental standpoint more than anything else. He brought in some new stretching routines. We talk about that, like kind of what they did in the NBA. It was a lot more movement stuff like it is today rather than stationary stretching. So he was kind of on top of it. But it just really, he left college and got back in the NBA because, him and I got in trouble because we'd be working out together. Like we'd play one-on-one. Right. And the AD, hey, you can't play one-on-one with it. You can't even see. I'm like, it's after the, I asked him to do it. He didn't. Right. It's not like he dragged me to the gym. I went to the office. I said, Coach, he's like, let's play some one-on-one. I'm like, yeah, can we play one-on-one to see how you do this and that? He's like, all right. And we got in trouble. And he's like, that's why I got out of the college coaching because I can't work with kids and when I want to. Right. So, but really helped me from a mental standpoint. And then he got me over to Pete Miller's big man camp. Out in LA, and there's only 12 guys got to go a year. So I went there between my sophomore and junior year, which really elevated me. And I met, they were actually shooting the movie Jason will probably know this movie. They were shooting the movie Hoosiers, or not Hoosiers, Blue Chips out there.
Okay, yeah.
And Pete Newell was
Penny and Shaq.
Yeah, Pete Newell was he was a kind of a basketball liaison for that staff, but he also sat on the bench as Nick Nolte's assistant. So right after we did the camp for 3 hours a day, it was at Loyola Marymount. Shaq would come in and gosh, I can't remember the guy's name that played at Indiana. I played with him overseas, against him overseas.
Yeah, he's got. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, I played against him overseas when I was in Portugal. But those guys would come in, and so I met Shaq, and they had the hugest hands I've ever met in my life. Any pro has big hands. Everybody asked, I said, let me tell you something. You ever meet a pro? He's a pro because he's got huge hands. So, but yeah, so that was a great experience for me.
Just so you know, I don't think I've ever sat and watched all of Blue Chips, just so you know. I probably should do that, right? Is it good?
Really good. Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Yeah, it's worth.
But now that's all changed, right? Now that they were getting NIL money. They just didn't it wasn't really NIL money. It didn't go to the kid.
Wasn't classified. It wasn't classified as such.
Yeah, it wasn't classified. The people were getting cars, and parents were getting jobs and tractors and all that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different. That's a little bit of a different world for sure, without question. It's man, it's hard to believe again how long ago that is when you start really thinking about, oh, I got his name, Matt Nover.
Yes, Matt Nover. Yes,
I thought it was Matt. I wanted to say Matt Novak was the name that kept coming and popping into my head. So yeah, Matt
Novak. Yeah, he was a good player. But I love the social media aspect, some of the stuff, because I feel like I'm still connected to Bowling Green via social media. I know what they're doing all the time, and I know what guys that I played with. I mean, I'm sure you're the same way, right? What do I miss the most? Playing with hanging out in the locker room.
Absolutely.
And that's probably why, I still get a piece of that with TNBA, because we're a very close, company, and we're always talking to each other. We're hanging out, we're working with kids. And so I'm actually a volunteer assistant at West G this year. And it's just being around the guys every day. I love it. I love that aspect. I love that atmosphere. And I miss that more than anything else with playing. So
yeah, it's not replaceable. I think that's one of the things that you realize very quickly, that when you're not part of a team, and even from a coaching standpoint, I know when I think about what I miss most about coaching at the high school level, it's not necessarily even the practices or the games. It's sitting around the coach's office after practice or after a game and just having those conversations and talking basketball and just talking smack and whatever. You can't replace that in any other walk of life. And people who haven't been a part of that, I don't think really quite comprehend exactly what that's all about unless you've been in a locker room and felt that camaraderie between teammates. Yeah, it's completely different. And you're right. Social media does allow you to keep up and pay attention to, again, for me, at Ken, and for you at Bowling Green, you can kind of pay attention and keep in touch. And it's funny. I try to get back to at least one game a year. I don't know about you. Do you try to get to a game if you can?
Yeah, it's kind of unique, right? Because we have some players in our organization that they recruit. So
right.
So I've been back for recruiting visits and that kind of stuff, and that's been great. And then I'll see those guys out on the road. I'll see Mike Huger and some of their assistants. I saw them up in Atlantic City in July, and not really technically allowed to talk to them since I'm an AAU coach, but we'll stop and we'll talk, and and I'll help them recruit and look at some players here in Cleveland, and and give them my opinion on guys and that kind of stuff. So yeah, obviously it's changed so much, the universities and what they offer and how they look. It's crazy, and it's amazing, really. And probably that's why Biden had to get rid of all that debt, because these schools are so nice now.
I know, isn't it crazy? Just you look at some of the amenities and things and the food. I dropped my daughter off. I had my first one. She went to Denison, so she's been there now 3 weeks. But you drop them off, and you see, and you go and you eat in the cafeteria. You're like, holy cow! It's like eating at a restaurant, and just the recreational facilities that these schools that have access to. And just, I think about like us, even back at Kent, we had like the old gym annex. And so that's where you'd play your pickup games there, in the off season, and just, it had like the rubberized floor, and just, there was like a tiny weight room crammed in the corner with like two elliptical machines. Now you go and it's, a multi-million-dollar facility and just all this stuff. It's crazy the amount of money that's been poured into. And again, they're trying to do it to attract students, and it's kind of become this arms race. And so it's made, as you said, it's made all these campuses a lot different and a lot nicer for the kids that are going, and a lot more expensive. How about that?
I don't know if you heard this, but like some of these D2s, like I know Coach Conley over at Lake Erie College pretty well, and he's like, hey, we're starting a JV program. I go, what? Wow. I go, what? I go, why? He goes, well, number one, we need kids in school, right? So, and he goes, and if I can get X amount of kids on the team, then I can give my assistant coach a little bit more money so he stays and happy. Because, the D2, a lot of the D2, budgets aren't close, and they struggle to keep staff and all that.
For sure.
And he goes, kids just want to play in high school. So I thought that was very unique, because I thought they did away with all of those, and now they're trying to bring them back to compete and try to keep, get kids in school. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but at the same time, you're looking at it going, man, at what point does it end and get a little crazy? I mean, obviously the way the basketball is today, and the sheer number of kids that are playing, and everybody's kind of out and looking for that opportunity to play in college. And then you have the social media piece of that, where everybody who's visiting this school or that school or going here or going there and keeping track of it. And so my son, who's going to be a junior, like he's always like, hey Dad, look at this one. And hey, what about this guy? And hey, this kid, and I played against him, and I know this guy. And you just, you start looking at it all, and you're like, God, it's overwhelming as a kid. Like, you think about our situation, and like, you knew maybe, right, there was 20 kids in the Cleveland area that you knew as, one of the, like, these kids are the best. And then other than that, like, you didn't know anybody. Like, to be honest with you, I can honestly say, like, I've been teaching at Richmond Heights for 27 years. I had never heard of Richmond Heights before I got a job there. I had never heard of it. I'm like, then the schools that we played in the schedule when I was coaching that first year, I'm like, what are these places? Like, I never heard of any of them. They're all these little small schools, and never heard of any of them, because it just wasn't, this is not the way it was. And now everybody knows everything about everybody.
Everybody knows everything. And now everybody thinks that, well, I'm as good as he is, and he's not that good. And they immediately judge, and, it's like, all right, well, so focus on yourself, man.
Exactly. And eventually you got to get on the court and play. So
that's always behind. Yeah.
That's always an important piece of it. It's nice to post things on Twitter and talk about this and that, but ultimately you got to get out on the court and play, and that's where your bread's buttered at some point.
How come I don't have an offer?
Right.
How come he got offered? Well, he's 6'6", you're 6'1". A little difference there.
Yeah, all you have to do is go. I try to keep having this conversation with my son. I'm like, dude, look, you're 6'5". You're going to get some more opportunities just because you're 6'5". I'm like, look, you go to these different things, and like, how many guys are there that are between 5'9" and 6'1" that are exactly the same? Like, there's a ton, so you better take advantage of the fact that you got some size and do something with it. So it's fun to watch. I mean, again, with your son and just being able to be around it and be a part of it. It's as a dad, it's a totally different experience than your own experience as a player, for sure.
For sure.
All right, tell me a little bit about your pro career, just getting overseas. And then we could talk a little bit about some of the different stops you had along the way.
It's funny. A kid the other day was like, did you even play? I was like, well, yeah, like I played in high school, I played in college, and I played pro. He's like, you were in the NBA? I go, no. I played over in Europe. He goes, that's not pro. I'm like, hey, I got paid to play basketball. It's pro, man. Be quiet.
That's funny. Not surprising, but funny.
Yes, exactly. So, no, it was, obviously very unique experience when you play to different countries. And I mean, I loved every minute of it. And I just took it as, hey, they're paying me to play a sport that I love, and I'm getting to see the world. So, everywhere I went, my mom came. I spent some time in Belgium and Turkey and Israel, Portugal, and France. And I thought I loved everyone because I was getting paid to play basketball. And, when I was in Turkey, it was a little bit tough because nobody spoke English. I lived in this little city called Konya, which is 2.5 hours south of Ankara. And it was one of the most religious cities in that country. They would get upset when I wore shorts out because the women might look at my legs. I'm like, first of all, no one's, so it was, I mean, and you get stopped and they want your passport. They, the cops want money, even though you weren't doing anything to get your passport back. And luckily, Jason, I don't know if you've seen the movie, Midnight Express. I never saw that movie until I got back out of it.
I've never seen that movie. Sorry.
Oh boy. These guys get in trouble for smuggling drugs in Turkey and they go into a Turkish prison. And
Mike,
it's the worst
have you seen Midnight Express?
Wait, is it Midnight Express? Maybe it's not.
Who's in the movie?
It's not De Niro, so maybe it's not Midnight Express. It's I don't know. But it's a Turkish prison movie. Jason, you're the guy. You're going to go find it. So I lucky I didn't see that. I'm looking right now. Hold on. But it's very shady over there. I mean, I saw
Randy Quaid's in it. Randy Quaid's in it. John Hurt.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if this is the movie that you're talking about.
Does it say Turkish prison? Does something like that?
What's the plot summary here?
Yeah, what's the plot summary? Because I'm probably wrong.
If not, Jesus was a young American sent to a Turkish prison to try to smuggle hashish out of the country.
Yes.
All right, there it is.
The cast included Brad Davis, Norbert Weiser, John Hurt.
All you listening, go watch that movie. It's a good movie.
Randy Quaid as Jimmy Booth.
You lived it, man. You lived it, Shane.
I lived it. I didn't go to jail, but I lived it. But I tell you, I saw more American money in Turkey than I have anywhere else. We get paid in a shoebox. Hey, I go, what is this? He goes, this is half your money in a shoebox. I'm like, really? I'm like, can we go to a bank or something and wire it? I mean, it was crazy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I played with Dennis Hobson, who was the number 2 pick. And I think in the '88 draft, he played for the Bulls. And, obviously Dennis is still around running some AAU stuff. So I get to talk with him all the time. He was actually an assistant coach at BG for a little while. But yeah, so I got to play with him over in Israel. And Israel was, I work out of a lot of, our company works a lot out of the JCC. So that's kind of my go-to to get in. It's like, I lived over in Israel. I can speak a little bit of Hebrew.
There you go.
Shabbat Shalom. I understand the culture and being kosher. And so it's kind of helped the business a little bit, speaking a little bit of Turkish, but I can't complain. And I played in some great countries, played against some great competition. I actually played against, Dominique Wilkins. When he was over in Greece, I was in Turkey. We went to Bormio every year to play in this tournament. I was in Turkey for 2 years, and he was over there, and we got to play against this team.
That's fun. That's cool.
I think I had 18 points against them, and I didn't get dunked on.
Nice.
We lost, but I'm going to chalk that up as a win.
That's a win, man. If you didn't,
that's a win.
If Nick didn't dunk on you, that's a win.
I was not playing very much help side on that game. Usually, I'm good for a charge or two. So, but not
he would have just jumped right over you, so you wouldn't have to worry about taking the charge. He would have gone.
Yeah, good point.
Get a little Vince Carter, Frederick Weiss action. Jump right over the top. Do you have a favorite city that you either visited or lived in, of the cities you lived in? Does any of them stand out?
Not really. My wife now came over and we went to Paris and all that. And I don't know. Maybe it was Portugal. We lived right on the ocean. That was great. I don't know. I just enjoyed everywhere I went because it was just a unique, different experience. And it's hard for some Americans, especially guys. I played with a bunch of guys that played overseas or played in the NBA. And then, they're used to that lifestyle,
right,
and that, and being catered to. And then, they come to Turkey and what do you mean my cable is not going to be turned on for a week? This is crap. Or, what do you mean this is not going to happen right away? And they're this is not they get really, really mad, so, but I was man, it's all good. I'm a Seinfeld buff because I learned my first year in Turkey. We didn't have, the only thing that came out was CNN.
Okay.
And, it was right before the internet and all that. So I paid a guy to dub every Seinfeld tape he had, and that's all I would watch. Morning, noon, and night, I would watch Seinfeld. So in the Seinfeld game, I'm pretty good.
All right, what's your favorite? What's your favorite episode line? What's your go-to? I mean, I know there's a bazillion, but
my kids hate this. Like I think I can still find you can still find a good parking spot in the city if you apply yourself. I say that all the time. We get a good parking spot. My kids say, "Shut up, Dad."
That's hilarious.
It's pretty bad. I named my son Jerry, and my daughter's name's Elena, so kind of like that Jerry and Elaine.
Hey, there you go. It doesn't get any more Seinfeldian than that.
No.
My one is always whenever somebody starts talking about wood, I'm always like, wood, Jerry, wood.
Wood.
Not that it means anything. Yeah. Yours at least has a little bit more meaning behind it, but mine is just I just like throwing that out there. All right, what's your craziest overseas basketball story? This is a standard question. I have to tell you the story. So I don't even know how many people we've had on that have played overseas, but you're gonna have a really hard time topping the best story. I'll summarize it for you after you're done, but give me your craziest one. That's PG.
I was going to say the craziest one that you guys probably really want to hear. I'm not going to be able to say on this podcast. We'll have to catch up later about that.
Exactly.
But that was probably the greatest one. So when I was in Turkey, when I was in Turkey, we had to go play the cup against Greece, and Turkey and Greece hate each other. And so, during the game, like, we're getting pelted with like coins, and like, they're not like quarters or like here, like over there, they're like thicker. So like, I'm getting like, I mean, it's bad, right? So they had to stop the game, tell the fans to stop throwing stuff. And like, they'd let the fans back in, they would keep throwing it. So they had to kick the fans out for the whole second half. Like, so we played the game, we actually beat them. So we're in the locker room. And like, the Northwoods have bars on them, right? But like, the fans broke the windows and are trying to like pry open the bars to like come in. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, this is a basketball game. And so like, we had to wait like 2 hours. Like, the crowd would not leave, so they brought in all these riot police, and like they covered us up, and they put it, made like a parade onto the bus, go onto the bus, and then, fly to the airport. I mean, that was pretty crazy. But like, I remember my first year when I was in Belgium, like, we won our first game. We had a company that sponsored us, was a beer company named Moss Pills. And so they said, hey, after the game, you have to put on your suit that they bought you, and you have to go up and talk to like the big time people at the club. So I'm like, all right. So I go up there. My whole team, including my coach, is smoking and drinking. And I'm like, I mean, okay, I can understand maybe having a beer, but they're all getting hammered and they're smoking. I'm like, you just played a basketball game. Why is there smoke?
That's hilarious.
I mean, it was, and in Turkey, like at halftime, like our whole arena would be filled with smoke.
Oh, I'm sure. I believe it.
It's crazy.
Well, it's like you look at those old time pictures of NBA, right? In the 50s and 60s NBA, and you see like those shots like that are taken from like down at the floor angle up at guys, and then you just see the haze of smoke at the top of the Boston Garden. There's Wilt and Bill Russell battling it out, and it's like there's a cloud of cigarette smoke hanging in the arena. It's kind of crazy. It's almost like to the point now we're so spoiled because you don't smell cigarette smoke here almost ever. And when I do smell it, I'm like, God, that's awful.
Now you just smell marijuana everywhere.
Right? Yeah, that's true. That's true too.
All right, the last story I have. This was a real quick one. It was a good one. So this was our first year. I was in Belgium, and after the game on Sunday, we play on Sundays. We'd have Monday off, but we're supposed to go to a team spa. So they gave us the direction. I went with Gary Collier, who has played at, where did he play at? He played at Tulsa. He was picked by the Cavaliers in the second round that year. Didn't make it, so he was overseas with me. So him and I are late because we don't know how to get to the spa. So, everybody's like, it's got like 5 different colored whirlpools and a huge pool and a sauna and all this stuff going on, right? But it was closed to everybody except for the team. So Gary and I get in. We're like, hey guys, sorry we're late. We get into the hot tub, and all of a sudden my coach, who doesn't look good in clothes, by the way, he comes out of the sauna totally naked, and I'm like, he starts like he's going to jump into the pool. So he's moving his whole body. So everything is kind of moving back and forth, like right in front of us. I'm like, what is this guy doing? He's naked. He's my coach. I don't need to see him naked. He jumps in the pool. And I'm like, what is he doing naked? They're like, what are you talking about? Next guy in the hot tub next to me gets up. He's naked. The whole team is naked because that's what they do over in Europe. They go to these naked saunas. And they're like, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, Gary and I have our swim trunks on. We're keeping them on.
This is a tradition that we may not partake in.
Yes. There could have been shrinkage, right? Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, watch out for that.
I was in the pool.
I was in the pool. It shrinks like a turtle.
Yeah, like a frightened turtle.
That's good stuff. All right, so the best European story ever, Jefferson Mason from Dr. Dish. So the basic plot of it is he was on a team, I forget what country he was playing in, but basically they were going to play a game in Iraq, and he was driving like through the desert in Iraq on a bus with his teammates, and they came to this like outpost. He said basically it was just like a cinder block checkpoint, and they get to this checkpoint, and like 4 soldiers get on the bus with guns, and they start pointing at him and one other American player, and they don't speak English, so they're jabbering away at him, and they got their guns pointed at him. They make him get off the bus, and he's like, at this point, I think that they're going to take me off the bus and just shoot me and leave me in the desert and tell the team to keep moving. So they take him into this little checkpoint, and they still have the guns pointed at him, and they had a guy that was, I don't know, could speak or somehow was translating something. But basically, they wanted him and his teammate to jump. So they kept pointing, and they're like, jump, jump, jump. And then after the fact, basically, they wanted to know if all American players could jump like Michael Jordan. And he's like, I thought they were going to kill me and leave me in the desert, and here these guys just wanted to see if they were having him jump at gunpoint to see how high that they could jump. So he told it with a lot more detail, but crazy. Yeah, and
that is crazy.
There's so many. I mean, there's just so many stories.
Well, we had to fly into a military base when we were in Konya because they didn't have an airport. We had to fly into the military base.
Okay.
So there's guys with like huge guns all over the place.
Right.
And like when you're over in Europe, like they have, like the police have those huge guns like in the airports and stuff like that. You don't see that here. You see handguns, but
right.
like it's crazy. I mean, it's
it's commonplace. I mean, it's just, I guess you get used to wherever it is that you're at. But yeah, you're right. We don't have that military style presence in airports and public places the way that they do overseas. That's for sure.
Now in Israel, it's even worse because everybody, like all my teammates were in the military because you have to do so many hours of military service or so many years of military. My teammates would come in with guns and they'd be in the military and like, and there was some of that bombing going on when I was over there. I'd ask for a gas mask and they gave me one. Like it was wild. I mean, it was definitely crazy.
Yeah, that's scary stuff. I think sometimes here in the U.S., like, look, don't get me wrong, there's lots of problems and there's definitely gun issues out there, but for the most part, you think about how things are pretty benign here compared to lots of other places in the world. I think sometimes we take that for granted, unfortunately. Your first impression is everything when applying for a new coaching job. A professional coaching portfolio is the tool that highlights your coaching achievements and philosophies, and most of all, helps separate you and your abilities from the other applicants. The Coaching Portfolio Guide is an instructional membership-based website that helps you develop a personalized portfolio. Each section of the Portfolio Guide provides detailed instructions on how to organize your portfolio in a professional manner. The guide also provides sample documents for each section of your portfolio that you can copy, modify, and add to your personal portfolio. As a Hoopheads Pod listener, you can get your Coaching Portfolio Guide for just $25. Visit coachingportfolioguide.com/hoopheads to learn more. When you get done playing, as you're starting to wrap up and you see the writing on the wall that at some point the playing career is going to end, what's your thought as far as what you think you want to do? Are you already thinking about getting involved in coaching and staying with basketball? Was there a thought that, hey, maybe I'm going to go and get a, quote, regular job? Just where was your mindset at as you were finishing up your pro career?
You know, my mindset was I wanted to go back and get my degree. So that was where my head was at. You know, when I came back from overseas, I'd always run a camp with a friend of mine. So I know I enjoyed doing that, but I never thought of a business, right, doing that. So I told my parents, I said, look, I'm going to go up and I'm just going to get my degree. And so I drove up to Bowling Green on Tuesdays. I'd leave Tuesday morning at like 5 a.m. I'd get there. I'd stay Tuesday. I'd get a hotel Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and I'd come back on Thursday. And I worked for my dad on Mondays and Fridays. He had a business. I'm like, maybe I'll take this over. Kind of want to see what it's like. And, you know, everything happens for a reason, right? So I'm doing that. I'm enjoying it. It's okay. You know, I'm learning. You know, I got married, and this guy, this agent called me, or I was Tim Robinson over at Speed Strength Systems. I'm sure if you know Tim or not. He gives me a call. I'd worked out with him when I was playing professionally. He was like, "Hey, you know, do you do any training?" And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. Like I've trained a couple kids in the summers, but nothing major." He's like, "Yeah, we have an NBA guy working out with us, and he's looking for a trainer, you know, and you know he's going to be a first round pick." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, right. Like how many first round picks are in Cleveland looking for a trainer, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
that doesn't happen." So I ended up working him out, and because the guy kind of a couple guys that they had to work with he didn't like or whatever, he didn't really speak a lot of English, and so I did one session, and like afterwards it would end up being Nene. He was a 7th pick, and gosh, I don't even remember what draft he went to. The Nuggets. He was a 7th pick in the draft that year, and like I did one session with him, and he loved it. So they're like, "Well, you have to do this every day," and I said, "Well, I can't. I'm going to school 3 days a week." So, you know, we made it work. I actually came back on Wednesdays and trained them and then drove back up. So, you know, we made it work, and, you know, I trained him all through up into the draft. And then he got picked the 7th pick in the NBA draft. And, you know, still kind of, you know, so I was working for my dad and going back to school. And then I just started training some kids on the side that asked me, like, "Hey, would you work with our kids?" You know, and I was like, "Yeah." And so I started training kids on the side, and I trained him, and so I was like, this is fun. Like, and then I got a real job. Like, someone hired me to do something, and I hated it. Like, I actually, like, when I tell you I hated it, because working for your dad, like, it was cool, it was fine, but it wasn't like a real job, right?
Right.
So I got a real job. I can't even I can explain it to you, but like, I was selling barter. I was selling trade between companies, where there was no money exchanged. It was just goods and services traded with each other, and they hired 6 people to start, and I was the last one left. Like after 4 weeks, everybody quit except for me, because I'm not a quitter. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. I got to be successful. I got to do something. I'm married. I bought a house. I got to figure something out, right? I got to be successful at something. And I actually threw up like before I went to work, like 3 days a week, like physically, like just threw up. And my wife's like, "You're miserable," and I go, "What am I gonna do? Like I have to do this. Like I have to earn a living. And she's like, "I don't care. Like, it's not worth it. Like, I don't want you to like," she was working at the Plain Dealer at the time. She's like, "It's not worth having you like this. Like, you threw up going to work. That's not right." And I'm like, it's not right. So, like, long story short, like one of the kids that I was training at night, his dad, I met his dad, and his dad was like, "We should go out to a game or whatever." And I was like, all right. So I got to know the kid. So Nene was actually coming into Cleveland to play the Cavs for the first time. And so I invited the dad and the son to the game. Nene gave us tickets. And so we go to the game, and he goes, it was back, we talk about back in the day, like security wasn't even a thing. Like Nene waved, I was walking around the floor. Nene's waving me onto the floor, and they just let me walk right onto the floor, right?
Of course.
So, I introduced him to this guy, Mike, and he's like, "Hey, wait for me after the game, whatever, we go up and watch the stands." And so just out of the blue, like in the middle of the game, this guy goes, so what do you do for a living? Where do you work? I go, "I work at this barber company. I absolutely hate it. I throw up every time I go to work." He goes, "Why don't you start your own company?" I go, "What?" He goes, you should start your own company. I go, what? He goes, you call it Shane Co. Start your own company. I go, what am I going to do? He goes, well, look. He goes, my son's in 8th grade. He absolutely loves you. He thinks you're a great guy. He thinks you're a great trainer. And then he goes, I watch your rapport with an NBA player who absolutely loves you, and you helped him get drafted. He goes, you should absolutely start your own company. He goes, just based on those two things. He goes, and you ran a camp at WestG, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, look, I'll run some numbers for you. So like 3 weeks later, the guy called me up. He's like, let's meet. He's like, I'm like, well, about what? He goes, we're going to start Shane Co. So he sat me down and showed me a sheet, and he's like, look, here's what I think you could do and make. I think you can make a business out of this. And I was like, are you serious? He goes, yeah. I go, well, Mike, I don't really know anything about business. I don't know. He goes, look, I know business. You know basketball. It's a great partnership. Like he goes, I can own the whole company, just have you work for me. You can own the whole company and I'll help you. And I was like, no, if we're going to do it, let's just do a 50-50. And he's like, all right. And I go, oh, well, I forgot the biggest thing, and I'm sure you wanted to talk about it. During all of this time, he also said, oh, and I was shooting an MTV show at the time. So he's like, you're working out an NBA guy. My son loves you. And you got MTV, because MTV was following me around at the time. He goes, what? Like, you got to start your own. So based on that, so we started our, so we started in June 2002. It's been 20 years. And
Crazy, man.
Yeah, I remember the first day I sat in the office, he gave me a computer. I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do now?
What do I do?
I had no idea.
What do I do with this computer? What am I going to do? Yeah. And well, then it was a different world then, right? I mean, 2002, people can see what a basketball business would look like today, but in 2002, it was not nearly as clear as it is today. And we'll talk a little bit about how you built it up. Talk a little bit about the MTV experience, though, because I don't know even if a lot of people that know you at this point even remember that was sort of part of the sort of genesis of you getting started.
Yeah, I mean, that I think that definitely helped me get started to a certain extent. So this guy named Al Russ, who was at Kirtland, he was the head basketball coach at Kirtland, and they like MTV, like they were doing this series called Made, where they helped the kid become whatever they wanted to. So if you wanted to become a chef, they'd hire you private chefs, tutors, and do whatever, right? One person wanted to become a cheerleader. One person wanted to do, I like wanted to be a pianist or whatever. So there's a kid that wrote him that said, hey, I want to make my high school basketball team. Can you guys help me? So MTV, he was from Mesopotamia, which is out near like Middlefield with all the horses and carriages and all that. Like, yeah. So I was like, so they were calling around Cleveland to find out who was training. And, nowadays you can like, there's 500 trainers.
There's a zillion people, right? Exactly.
Yeah, there's a zillion people doing it. But back then there wasn't a lot of guys. So they got to this guy named Al Russ, and Al Russ is like, the only guy that I know that like, because he, trained someone I know is this guy Shane. So MTV called me, the producer called me. And he's like, hey, we want to do the show, blah, blah, blah. We need to start like in 2 weeks. Can you send us a videotape of like you around the house? Like we need to make sure you have a good personality and like you're going to be good for TV.
You're vacuuming, making lunch, cooking eggs.
Yeah. So like, what do you want me yelling at my wife? So it's like, just make some. So I actually had to go around and make a video, which was probably the strangest thing ever. I'm like, what does MTV want to see? Like, I sent it, and the guy was just like, you know what, I didn't even watch it. I felt like from your personality on the phone, you'd be fine. So we didn't even watch it. So we started filming like 2 days. And I'll never forget, my buddy, Jimmy Rosnick, it was his bachelor party. We went golfing for it. Jimmy's actually the head doctor for the Cavs right now, but we were going to his bachelor party, and I'm like, hey, I might be a little bit late for golf. I got to do this stupid thing for MTV. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't even know what it is. So like I went out to Mesopotamia and they're in a farm, and they said, hey, this is the episode, and this is what we kind of want you to say and do, even though it's reality, it's not really reality. They kind of set up all the scenes. And he keeps on telling me he's in great shape. He goes, the producer's like, I guarantee he's not. If you make him run, he's going to throw up. And that's good for TV. So, of course, at the end of the episode, I'm like, hey, you need to run home. So the kid's running home. And he starts puking all over. And they're like, yeah, this is great. And I'm like, what am I doing? So, but yeah, no, it was very unique. I mean, it was,
man. I remember it well. I mean, I watched every episode. It was compelling TV when you're watching somebody that you know, and then it was just like, again, it was funny to see somebody who really was not a basketball player attempt to become a basketball player. There was definitely some humor in it. Let's put it that way.
Oh, there was a lot of humor. And I will say MTV knows what they're doing because I'll never forget this. So it's going to air, right? It's about to air. It's a week from air. And they kept on telling me it's going to air in 1 week. I'm like, great. And I'll never forget this. I got a call and he's like, hey, Shane, what are you doing tomorrow night? I go, I don't know why. He goes, I need to fly in. I go, why? He goes, we got to film the ending. They don't like the ending. I go, you serious? So he flew in. We went to have dinner. We had a couple drinks. We drove to Menor High School. It was snowing out, and we filmed pretend like coming out of the gym, going, oh, I was just at his game. And we filmed the ending a week before it started. It was wow. Crazy. It was insane. Funny. Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, so get back to TNBA. So you're sitting in front of that computer. You got a blank screen in front of you. You got a business partner. What comes next?
So because he was such a good business partner, he said, you know what, Shane, if we're gonna be in business, in the basketball business, we better try to be in the business with the biggest basketball company in Cleveland, which is Cavaliers. So a good friend of mine, who I'm sure you know, Chad Estes, played at OU, was working with the Cavs, and he's like, well, who do you know from the Cavs? I said, well, I know Chad Estes. He goes, great, let's go have a meeting with him. And, so we kind of talked the Cavs needs and that kind of stuff. And they were running some camps, but they weren't very big. And so we told them, hey, we could blow this thing up and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, we signed like a 5-year deal to run the Cavs youth program. And we started from scratch. And we ran all these programs and really, between that and then, my business partner was just really good thinking about, all right, so we're going to be in business with the Cavs. And he goes, Shane, it can't be just you. That's why we named it the National Basketball Academy, because at some point it can't be you. You can't do everything, right? So we have to go find someone just like you. And that's going to be hard, but we have to go find someone just like you. So he heard through the grapevine about this guy named Steve Vega. He's like, he's on the West Side. He's doing all his training. So we met with Steve. I didn't like Steve at all. I don't think Steve liked me. I didn't like Steve. I'm like, Mike, I'm not working with this guy. He's like, no, he's fine. He's fine. He's doing all this, he's a numbers guy, right? And a business guy. He's like, look at all this stuff he's building, and he's killing it. And Steve was doing, working at Key Bank, and he was on the fast track to be like in the real estate department. Like he was fast tracked because he was really smart with numbers, and that he was a finance guy, and like he's fast tracking at Key Bank to do some big things. But obviously, he's like, I love basketball, but I don't want to really be in the business world, but that's where my bread and butter is. And so I don't know how my partner did it, but he convinced Steve to give up that Key Bank thing and come to TNBA full time. And then like that really just took us obviously to a whole new level, and to be honest with you, Steve and I didn't get along for a long time, just because, I really didn't know him. Like, we never really sat there, and I didn't play with him, and we never really sat there and got to know. Like now I know, right? Now you go out to get to know people and you spend time with them, and it's got to be more personal than it is about business to start, right? And so Steve and I were just like, I remember, sitting in the office and like him and I, it's not we didn't like each other. We just didn't really know each other. I don't think we felt comfortable with each other, right? I was probably jealous of some of the stuff he was doing. I think he was jealous of some of the stuff I was doing. And like we just didn't gel and vibe. But we're sitting at the office. I'll never forget this. He always tells the story too. Every time we get up in front of our company, he tells the stories like we were stuffing envelopes, right? Putting on mailing lists, stuffing envelopes. So
back in the day,
mailing in the day, right? Mailing stuff out.
For sure.
Steve looks at me and goes, do you think we'll ever have anybody ever to do this for us? Or are we going to have to do this for ourselves all the time? I'm like, man, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone right now. So, like Steve always tells that story, and you know, it's funny because now you just press a button and that stuff goes out. But yeah, when we hired Steve, I mean, obviously, you know, it kind of gave us that west kind of location and an east kind of location, and then it was just like I can't even, like, it was just weird. Then we did, you know, Steve knew a guy named Jermaine Gay, and you know, and Mike, my partner, we brought in Jermaine, and we hired Jermaine immediately. Like, oh, he's like, I love this guy, we got to hire him. I'm like, oh, okay, right. And then there's this guy named Jack Lutzire who played at Lake Erie College, and he walked in the I was interviewing Jack, and I'm like, you know, I don't even know what I'm doing. Why am I interviewing people? What am I interviewing people for? I don't even know what I'm doing, let alone what am I going to ask questions? So Mike, my partner Mike at the time, walks in the meeting and goes, "Are you Jack Lutzire? Yeah, Cliff Hunt told us about you, right? Yep, you're hired." I go, Mike, he's not hired. No, he's hired, Shane. If Cliff Hunt, who you think is the greatest person to walk the earth, tells you to hire someone that he would be good for this job, you hire him. We hire Jack. He's still with us today. He's actually a partner, as is obviously Steve. And Jack's a partner. He's running. He's down in Orlando, killing it, and just opened up our new market for us in Tampa. And Jack's been with us, you know, for that whole time, ever since my partner walked in and hired him day one. So. And, you know, based like those four guys, you know, Steve, Jermaine, Jack, and myself are really the ones, the catalyst that really got it going. And those four people are still with us today in this company. So it's crazy.
Talk about how you expanded and started moving into different areas of basketball. So you start out, obviously you're doing some training. You got the camp that you're running at your high school. You get this deal going with the Cavs. Just how do you sort of spread the branches of what you're doing and do it, not only do different things and also then do it in different places?
Yeah, well, number one, like, you know, now we break it up into buckets, right? There's 5 really core business, 4 things of our business. There's training, camps and clinics, leagues, you know, tournaments. So like it's, you know, but back then it was kind of like, oh, well, what are we going to do now? Like we're training, and you know, you can only do so much training, right? And you know, we were running camps, and those were great, but like, so let's start some, like, so the kids that we were training were like, hey, we want to play with you in AAU, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really have an AAU team. Well, we'll start one. Okay, so I started this one. His kid's name was Reggie King, and Reggie was from inner city Chicago, got adopted by a family and brought to Cleveland. And so I was training Reggie. So he's like, I'm making an AAU team. I'm like, all right. So I started an AAU team. He's like, we got to go out and get some good players. I said, so I grabbed Alex Sullivan, who played at Riverside, who played at Akron. And he's like, we need a big. I'm like, all right. So I don't know how, but like Travis Kelce's name came up. He's like, I'm like, I don't really know, but I'll talk to him. I don't know how. Someone got me in touch with Travis's parents, talked to him, and said, hey, I want to play basketball with you. Oh, he's playing with this other program, but, you know, so I started training Travis, and Travis loved it. He's like, I want to play for you guys. So here I am, my first AAU team, and it was Travis Kelce, Reggie King, Alex Sullivan, and this kid, he played at Ohio State. So I had 2 kids that played Division I basketball, 2 kids that played Division I football, and we were really good. Like, I mean, you know, Tucker had kind of started that, you know, the AAU thing and AAU tournaments, and I don't think Tucker, like, we would go and kick his team's butt all of the time with those guys, and like we just ran them out of the gym. I mean, we were really, really good, and I could tell you I was an awful coach. I know I was. I didn't know what I was doing, but like I just get kids to play hard. And they were really talented, and so like based off of that team, like that team went to nationals, and like nationals back then was like nationals, right? It wasn't
it was actually right. There were
5 million nationals right now.
Exactly.
So they finished, you know, we finished like 5th or 7th place in nationals, and like so that's kind of how it started our team business, right? So we started doing some teams, and we started doing them slowly, and you know, Steve did some teams on the west side, and we did some teams on the east side, and we kind of slowly built up the team business. And then, you know, obviously Tucker was was big into tournaments, and so Jermaine and I are like, let's start our first tournament. Oh, great idea. We rented Beechwood High School. Jermaine and I were doing the schedule by hand. It was the worst tournament you ever could have played it. We didn't know what we were doing, right?
Right.
Like, I can tell you that there was guys screaming and yelling at us. There were like 8 teams ready to come onto one court at once. That's how bad we messed up the schedule. Like, I went into the back room and just started, like, my head was, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we have no idea what we're doing. We're running this tournament. It was a debacle. How anybody ever came back, right, is beyond me. So we kind of screwed the first tournament up, and that's probably why Steve takes tournaments now. He's like, I don't trust you guys. So, but you know, that's kind of how the tournament business started, and Steve has just taken that and just really grown it because, like, it's like anything in life, right? It's all about relationships, right? Yep, so exactly. You go out and you find people that you want to do business with, that you have like mind, like, hey, you know what? Money's not the most important thing. We want to do things right. We want to do things for the right reasons. We want to do it professionally. We don't want to screw people. We want to make sure that everybody's getting paid and that kind of stuff. And Steve took that model and just started creating partnerships and, doing the right things. And so that kind of grew. And we talk about it all the time. Like, every facet of our business feeds the other ones. Like, you're going to come to a camp, you're probably going to have a really good time and enjoy basketball, and you're going to want to get better. So maybe you jump into some training, or you want to jump into one of our teams. Our training feeds our teams. Our teams feed tournaments. And then those teams want to play in the fall league, so they feed our league. So it's kind of like a full circle, right? If you do the right things for the right reasons, like, then you're going to be successful. So, like, I promise you, I wake up every day, and even though I work my butt off, and people are like, oh, no, you just train. No, like, you don't know all the behind the scenes
right,
stuff. Like, exactly. I'm on conference call and Zoom calls every day, like, to the point where I don't want to be, but I just am. But, like, I love my job. I love working with the people I love working with. I love the fact that I get to have an impact on kids' lives every single day. I love that, that I can wake up in the morning and go to bed at night and feel really good and comfortable about what I'm doing, because I know I'm doing things for the right reason. So
absolutely. I think you make a great point there, talking about the relationship side of it. And once you get in there and you do something well, you do it professionally, and then you've built those relationships, that allows you to grow and expand and get bigger, because, again, people know when they deal with you that they know what they're getting. And yep. When they know what they're getting and they have a relationship with you, that's really where I think success lies. And again, that's in any business, right? I mean, if you can do things the way that they're supposed to be done, and you do it with the best interest of everybody at heart, and you're not just out to grab somebody's wallet on your way out the door, you're going to end up having a lot better experience with whatever business it is that you're in, without question.
Well, you asked like, well, how'd you get, like, now we're in Orlando. Well, how did we get there? Well, yeah, we did a really good job for the Cavs. So the NBA goes to meet, and they're like, well, what are Cavs? What are you doing? Your numbers are pretty good. Oh, we work with TNBA. Oh, okay. Hey, will you come work with us? Oh, yeah, Jack, you're going to Orlando. What? Yeah, you got to go to Orlando, run their program. So, of course, right, we didn't know anything. We sent Jack down there with no business plan, no thing. Hey, Jack, just get it done. Like that Jack tells that story all the time. He's like, hey, Shane, you dropped me off in the middle of Orlando and said, get it done. And like for the first 6 months, he wasn't getting it done. I said, Jack, what's the problem? He goes, Shane, I go to Cleveland and I want to get into a gym. I mention your name, right? I mentioned Steve's name. Like, I mentioned Jermaine. Like, people know you guys. In Orlando, nobody knows you guys, and they definitely don't know me. So, like, I don't know how to do this. So, but, he grinded, he, used the magic relationships and started there. And then we started, boom, that led us to Houston, and that led us to Milwaukee. And I mean, we were up to 13 NBA teams at one point. And I mean, we were hiring people we didn't even know. We grew so fast.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to turn down the business. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what an Excel sheet was. We didn't know our numbers. Like, we were struggling, and we were hiring people we didn't even know. But so that, I mean, but you do things for the right reasons, and you grow, and you figure it out. Man.
Figure it out on the fly, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you a couple things. If I'm a parent, if I'm a high school coach that I'm trying to advise my son or daughter, I'm trying to advise one of my players, what am I looking for in a good trainer? Let's start there with a good trainer, and then we'll jump back to what am I looking for in a good AAU program. So let's start with the training piece, and then we'll go to the AAU side of it.
So when someone calls me to ask to train, we do an evaluation session, right? And we sit down with them and say, okay, here's what they're good at, here's what you're weak at, and then you develop a plan, right? First thing we ask, what's your goal? Like, find out, I always ask Kelly, what's your goal? Well, I want to make, so-and-so team. And not that you ever want to kill kids' dream, but you have to be honest with people, right? There's so many trainers out there that'll just take your money and tell you what you want to hear, right? You kind of need honesty, which is a tough, right? Because parents don't understand. They don't know if that person's being honest, right?
For sure.
You need to train. It's $100 an hour. You need to train 7 days a week, and he'll probably make it. I tell, will he make the team? And I say, well, here's the problem. I don't know who else is trying out. I can put you in the best position to make it, right? And get him in the best shape of his life. And sometimes I tell parents, you don't need me. You need more speed and agility. Depending on where it is and when it is and what they're trying to do, he's so slow, he needs a little bit of both, or he needs speed and strength more than he needs basketball at this point in time. And if you have money to spend it over there and not with us, right? I mean, we have turned people away from training. We don't, the goal has I can't train someone and take their money if I'm not doing good by them, right? So, don't get me wrong. There's kids that train with us just because they just want to get better. They just want to have fun. I want to be the best player in my rec league, or he enjoys it. He just needs exercise. Okay, fine. We understand the goal. We're all on the same page. It'll work out, right? When you're not on the same page and, parents think that he's going to make the high school team and dang well he's not, I'm not training that kid. Right. I'll be honest with them. He's probably not going to make it. And I don't want you to waste your money. So it's hard to find. I mean, there are a lot of, for number one, we talked, there are a ton of trainers around. Everybody will call themselves a trainer, right? So, I mean, if I'm a parent, I'm looking for a trainer, be like, okay, where do you train out of? Are you do you have insurance? Those are important questions, because if they don't have insurance and most trainers are just trying to steal gym time here or there out of a rec center, that probably tells me it's not on the up and up, right? I mean, you want someone that can train you every week at the same time. If they can't do that, they're probably not a reputable business or a reputable trainer, or they just don't have the access to that. And, you want something consistent. So, we pay gym time everywhere we go. We have insurance. We that kind of stuff I think is important to ask. And then ask for references. Hey, who else have you trained? Is there anybody that I can call? So yeah, absolutely. Here's so-and-so and go on their social media and research them. I'm blown away by people who work with kids that I go on their social media and they're cussing and swearing and,
right. Yep.
using inappropriate language and showing inappropriate videos. And I'm like, why would I ever send you to my kids? It's, so those are the kind of stuff that I would look for if I was a parent looking for that. So,
yeah, I think it's a great point. I mean, there's just, the business has become, there's been so much proliferation of people hanging out the shingle. And then I think the other piece that really resonated with me is just the ability to be able to tell people the truth and to make them understand, hey, here's where you're at. Here's what's realistic. Here's what's not realistic. And I think too many people are unwilling to have those conversations because they just don't want to lose the $50 an hour or the $75 an hour or whatever it is that they're making. And so you have to get yourself in a position where you can tell the truth. And that's when you're really going to, again, as you said a bunch of times, you want to provide value to the people that you're working with. And if you can't do that, then it's not a good situation for anybody, because in the long term as a trainer, you're not going to have a good reputation if you're not doing those things. And then the kid's not going to have a good experience if they're not getting what they paid for, that everybody's not on the same page. So I think that's all well said and good advice for parents who may be out there looking for a trainer. Let's jump to the AAU side of it. Somebody who's anywhere in the country and is looking for a good AAU program, a good AAU coach, in your mind, what characteristics should they be looking for on that side of the business?
Well, again, it's, we go through this all the time, right? It's finding the right fit, right? So what's the right fit? Is your son or daughter looking to play in college, right? Are they a sophomore or junior, and they're good enough, and they need to be quote unquote seen, right? I hate that word. I need to get recruited. I need to be seen. Like parents that like when people they travel and why aren't we traveling in 8th grade? Because no one's watching your kid play.
Exactly.
Why are we spending all of this money to travel all over the country when they're not going to watch you play, right? I can't stand programs that do that. Like I did a little bit in 7th and 8th grade with the program because I wanted them to experience it. Like we went to the Pitt Jam Fest because I wanted them to experience, because I knew as freshmen they were going to have to experience, and I didn't want them to be like wow, oh my God, look at all these teams here. And
right.
So gradually go into it, but we're not traveling across the country and spending all this time. Parents, I tell that there's good enough competition, especially in this Cleveland market. You don't need to travel right away. See how your son does here and there, and you got to find the right fit. So when I talk about the right fit, right? What's the goal for my kid? Because so many parents, I want him on the A team. Well, here's the problem. He can go sit on the A team, and you can pay me $700, and he's probably not going to play a lot. Again, having the truth in the conversations, being honest with people. You can pay me. I can put him on. He's going to be the 10th man. He's not going to play a lot. Or he can play in this team. He's going to start. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to get a lot of touches. And, that'll help him develop better than playing against this team, being on this team. And we'll lose a lot of parents, a lot of kids, because they want to play on the A team somewhere else, even though I feel like probably some of our B teams are better than that, but they don't care, right? I want to be on the top team. It's not about that, right?
Yep.
So if I'm a parent, and I'm going on number one, what level, what's the cost? Where am I traveling to? Why are we traveling? And who's the coach? What's his background in coaching? Is he certified? All of our coaches are gold certified by USA Basketball. So what does that mean? Well, that means they take a bunch of tests. So we don't just hire everybody. I can tell you that, and you probably know this, it's all about how you work with the kids, and kids
Absolutely.
don't know how much you know until they know how much you care.
Absolutely.
If you really care about the kids and your heart's in the right place, kids will run through the wall for you. I remember when I was training Nene, he went out to Denver, and the general manager was Kiki Vandeweghe, and Nene's like, I don't like this guy that's working with me. Gosh, I can't remember his name. He was an NBA All-Star. He was his coach, Adrian Danley.
Okay. Yep.
And Nene's like, his agent called me and said, hey, Nene wants you to go out to Denver. I go, why? I just started TNBA. I don't have time to go to Denver.
Right.
I'm sitting here in front of my computer. So they're like, no, you got to go out there. So I went out there. It was, Denver paid for my hotel, and then they paid me weekly to be with him. And so I remember Kiki Vandeweghe calling me in his office. He's like, what the hell are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, I'm scared. I'm scared to cry. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, why are you here? I go, look, I talked to Nene. He doesn't like his coach. And I go, I watched practice, and I go, I don't like him. He goes, well, why? What's his problem? I go, well, he's got no rapport with Nene. He's showing him moves he did that were his successful. You can't do that, right? You gotta find out what Nene's strengths and weaknesses are and work with him on that to uniqueness to his game. You can't show what you did when I played. I don't go out there and show kids, this is what I did when I played. And
Right.
No one wants to hear that crap.
Right.
If you don't have rapport with the kids or with the person that you're training to, I don't care what you know, it's never going to work. So I told Kiki, I said, Kiki, I watched 2 practices and he's got no rapport with Nene. He doesn't even rebound for him. That was before they had all these ball boys and stuff. He was making Nene go get rebounds and stuff. He didn't even rebound for him. I rebound my butt off for kids.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
No rapport, no effort. Nene's like, I don't like this guy. I don't respect the guy. So he doesn't respect him. So he's not going to work hard for him. That's why he wanted me out there. Someone who I made him work hard. I made him, blah, blah, blah. So, but, going back to AAU, I don't, resumes, to take it or leave it. Like, I can teach basketball. Like, we do coaching clinics, right? So everyone comes in and we talk about, hey, we have a philosophy. Like, we want, this is how much everybody should play. This is what we'd like to run on offense. But I can't make you do that because you might not be comfortable with it, right? I was never comfortable with the Euro offense, like that side ball screen offense. I hated it because I didn't know it, right? But after I ran it for a couple, I can't make people run with like what I want to run because so as a program, it's hard to say this is what we have to run. We show it. We say we want you to run this, but we can't make you, right? Do what you're comfortable with. As long as you're good with kids, right? And you're motivating and you're a good person and you show up on time and you have the best interest of the kid at heart, it's always going to work out. It's always going to work out. So like, that's what I would tell parents, like, find out who the coach is. Can we meet him? Can we train with him a little bit? See what his rapport is. Like, if he acts like, I don't even want to be here right now, it's probably not the program you want to be with. Don't waste a bunch of money traveling across the country when you don't need to. My daughter and, my kids want, are playing AU. They went through it all, and my son's a whole different story. But, my daughter, I'm looking at her like, do I even want her playing AU? She's playing soccer. Like, I don't feel her skill is where it needs to be. She's a phenomenal athlete, but like, I might hold her out of AU. Yeah. Because I want her more skilled. Like, it's hard to weightlift, skill develop, and play AU. If you're doing it seriously, it's really hard to do that. Like, it's a balance of getting in the weight room, and then you're traveling on the weekends or you're playing games on the weekends. You're so tired, you got to take Monday off, right? Tuesday, you might get in the gym a little bit. The Wednesday, you got AU practice there. So when are we working on our skills? So we mandate that half hour of every practice. First practice is all skill development. Ball handling, getting to the rim, working on different finishes. In AU too, as you know, it's tough to change your shot. So like for me, like I remember Aaron Conley and Odom, like two guys, they never played AU in the spring. They only went and traveled for big tournaments, because they just worked on their game all spring.
Yeah, right. You can make that argument for sure.
You can make that argument all day long that the kids almost play too much. Now, I'm in that business, and I've seen it both ways. I've seen it really benefit kids. We only really travel when there's college coaches. Like, our program, if there's college coaches, we're traveling. Or if there's a really, really good tournament that I can drive to, like in Fort Wayne or whatever, with a ton of really good players, and really, because I want those guys to see that, then we'll go there. But I'm not flying all over the country. You don't need to. If you're good enough, you're in today's age, you're going to go. But yeah, I mean, are we focusing on skill? Send me a practice plan. If I'm a parent, just send me a practice plan. What are your practices? What do you guys do at practice? Is it throw the ball out and play 5-on-5? Because that's probably not going to get us any better. At least I feel better doing a half-hour skill development, even though that's not enough. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I just keep on going on and on.
There's not enough. No, man. Listen, I think you made the best point. I think you made is that, one, it comes down to, does the coach care about the kids, and do they have the best interest of those kids at heart? And look, there's all different levels of how much basketball somebody knows or doesn't know, and obviously part of that comes down to what level are you coaching at as well. But if the person who's up there in front of your kid's team cares about your kid and is knowledgeable about the game of basketball, then you're going to probably have a pretty good experience. And if you don't have those two things, I don't care how good the organization is around them or whatever, it ultimately comes down to what kind of coach do you have, and that really, I think, dictates a lot of the experience. And then I love your point about the travel, because I think about the number of people, and you've obviously probably had more conversations about this than I have, but talk to parents, and they're talking about, hey, our fifth grade team's going here, our fourth grade team's going there, and because there's gonna be scouts there looking at you and this and that, and I just know from my experience with my son, especially over the last couple of years, that for a long time he just played for me because he wasn't necessarily good enough to be able to play anywhere else in a situation where, as you described, where he could have been on some team and been the 10th man and never played and never got the ball. But when he played for his dad on a team that wasn't quite as good, he had more opportunities to improve and get better. And then as he's gotten better, you try to find him a team that's going to be, that's going to be a little better. And we played on a pretty good team this spring. Mm-hmm. And yet when I went to our tournaments, most of the college scouts were not watching our team of going to be juniors. Mm-hmm. They were watching the going to be seniors, because you and I both know that the kids who are high level Division I players, those kids have been identified long before they get to be a junior in high school. Like, people know, I mean, again, don't get me wrong, they're obviously sleepers and whatever, but people know who those kids are when they're in 8th, 9th grade because of the athletic potential that they've shown. And then the rest of the kids who are trying to get an opportunity maybe to go and play Division III basketball or Division II, or, go play NAI, those kids are not really even being looked at. You talk to Division III college coaches, they're like, yeah, we don't even have the 2024s on our radar right now, because we're looking at
they don't have the budget.
Yeah, because we're looking at the 2020. So it's like, if my advice to a parent would be, just relax as your kid is younger, and eventually you're going to find the right place for them if you're with a good organization that's going to get them the exposure and the opportunity to play in front of coaches when the time is actually right. And I think you did a good job of explaining that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I had a really good team this year. I mean, we just had our AU party. We had them all over to the house for the win, because I mean, that's just kind of families. We just got lucky, right? Sometimes you get lucky, you just have good mixture but and we traveled the last 2 years, but like, as freshmen, I'm like, parents are like, why don't you travel? I'm like, no one cares about our freshmen. We don't have a major Division I kid, and if, so even this year, like, we played in front of a ton of college coaches, and Division I, Division II, Division III. I always said, like, we're in trouble. If I see a bunch of major Division Is coming to our court, we're in trouble, because we're about to play someone really freaking good.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So, but like, you talk for an hour just on like the porthole and all that, how that's, and the extra year of COVID is really hurting these kids
for sure.
So like, it's been where in a normal year, I told my parents this, I think with my 10 guys, I would have had 5 with offers. I have 2 with offers. In a normal year before COVID, I would have had 5 for sure, because I know it. But now I only have 2, just because they get that extra year, and then the transfer portal, and I mean, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, the recruiting piece, it's gonna take a couple years, I think, for it to normalize back out, and just because of the way that it's fallen for this particular 2, 3, 4 year stretch of high school seniors, it's going to be a lot tougher to get a scholarship. Now, you may get opportunities at lower levels in college, but to be able to get a scholarship offer as a high school player over the next couple of years is going to be, again, far more challenging than it's ever been, for sure. You talk about then you got prep school kids and post grad kids, and then you got kids from going overseas, and then you got JUCO kids. It's a tough. I'm living it right now, right? I'm that age group right now. Yeah. It's just it is so hard right now. But I always tell kids, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. Yep. Like, and you got to find the right fit, right? I mean, you got to find the right fit, and for everybody, that right fit may end up being different than even what you think it is. And so you can have a great experience, I think, at any level. It's one of the realizations that over the course of time I've come to, again, when I think back to myself as a player, it was I've got to be a Division I player. And now you look back on it, and I was really lucky that, I just ended up in a place where, I got an opportunity to play, but things could have certainly probably turned out different for me. And now you look at it and you just say, man, you could have just as great of an experience playing Division III college basketball as you can have playing Division I basketball, for sure. When parents tell me their kid's a Division I player, they want to play in college, I go, okay, do me a favor. And this is even before John Carroll got good. I mean, when they have all these studs now, I said, right, exactly. Go watch a John Carroll game or a BW game, and then call me and tell me your son can play college basketball. Absolutely. Yeah. Like Division III is still best of the best. The difference between a Division I kid and Division III kid is probably a little bit of size and athleticism. Yep. And I would tell you that some of the D3 kids are probably more skilled because they have to be, because they're a little bit slower, they're a little bit smaller. I mean, like Steve Fleming was one of the best players I've ever played with, and played with him all the time in the summer. You remember Steve, and
for sure.
He was a Division III guard had a great career at Hiram. And Steve was an amazing basketball player and had a great career and probably loved everything about it. And he played Division III basketball. Who does? I don't take the divisions out. Go play basketball. If you love it, go play. How many guys are going to play in the NBA?
Yeah, not many.
So,
not many. Yeah, just get out. If you could throw every kid, every high school player into just one open gym at a Division III school for 10 minutes, you could break some reality in real fast. Let's put it that way.
I don't know. I scored on him. Okay, I scored 1 point.
There you go. Hey,
I dunked pregame. I dunked during the warm-ups. This not so. That kid dunked. So did I.
You got to hold on to. You got to hold on to something. All right. Well, Shane, we've blown. We're approaching.
Sorry.
No, man, we're approaching.
All
I think the record. We're approaching a record length. So.
Chase is probably sleeping.
No, he got booted out. He got booted out for a while, and then he had to come back in. Somehow his internet dropped him off. But anyway,
I'm here. Come on now.
I know you're here. But I'm just saying we lost you for a minute.
Shane.
We had to get you back in.
Man,
all right. So I'm going to wrap up with final 2-part question. My favorite wrap up question. So part 1, when you look ahead over the next year or two, what do you see as being your biggest challenge? And then number 2, when you think about what you get to do every day, what brings you the most joy? So your biggest challenge and your biggest joy.
You mean personally or in the business?
I'd say in the business.
Yeah. Just how to grow, right? I mean, like I'm going to Tampa for a summit just with myself and Steve and Jack and this guy named Eric, who are all owners in the company. And our biggest thing is, how do we recruit good people, like good basketball people that's our biggest thing. I mean, we want to grow. We have visions of growing, but we can only grow with good people. Like we won't hire bad people. So like, how do you figure out where are these people? Or do we start at them in college? Do we call college coaches and go get them? So, I mean, growing the business with good people is our biggest issue right now. And then the thing that I wake up every day and look forward to be honest with you, and people think I'm crazy that I still love being on the floor. I mean, I was on the floor 3 hours today. I love working with kids. I worked with a 6th grader today who is very average. I worked with a girl who's coming back from a knee injury as a sophomore. And then I worked with 2 really good high school players that are probably going to play in college. And, I don't care the level of kid, right? If they really want to work and they want to get better, I know I can help them, right? And then, I got a letter sent home. My daughter goes to Gilmore, and one of my AU players is there, and I'm not going to mention his name, but we had our pick. He wrote me a letter, and kids don't write letters anymore. And he's just like, Coach, for the last 7 years, I played AU for you, and I can't, just kind of just an outpouring of his experience and thankful. I impacted that kid's life, and that's what gets me going every day. I know that I can have that. God gave me a gift to impact kids' lives, and not even on the basketball floor. It's so much more about that, right? Basketball is like a vehicle that we use to have an impact on kids' lives. It's something that we do and we love, and we can teach and all that. But ultimately, all the life lessons that we learn in basketball are going to affect them as human beings and as kids, on how to deal with adversity and how to overcome stuff and how to be coachable and how to be a great teammate. Because all of that, we're all going to work for someone, so we got to be coachable. We're always going to have to be a great teammate. So you're going to have to work with other people, so you better learn it now. And you're going to have to work hard, because if you don't, someone's going to outwork you, right? Everybody's going to work hard for that spot. So those are the lessons that, like, I use basketball as a vehicle to teach them to be successful in the rest of their lives. And I am so lucky I get to have an impact on kids' lives. Like, I get excited thinking about it. I get passionate. Like, sometimes tears come to my eyes, like, because I know I'm doing the right thing. I know that all of the people that work for us feel the same way I do, or they wouldn't be working with us. So that's what gets me going every day.
That's good stuff, Shane. It's well said. I think anybody who's listened to this, you can hear the passion that you have for what you're doing. It's clear. It comes through the mic loud and very clear that you care about what you're doing. And that's 90% of the battle right there. If you care, then you're going to figure out a way to make it work and make it work in a way that's going to benefit everybody. So before we get out, I want to give you a chance, share how people can reach out to you, find out more about what you're doing at TNBA, social media, website, whatever you want to share, and then I'll jump back in and wrap things up.
Yeah, TNBAbasketball.com is our website. TNBA_CLE is our Instagram, and same with our Twitter. And, you can just search us on the web, and give us a call or an email or whatever, and tell us what how we can help. Like, we do anything with basketball. So whether your kid wants to just have more confidence in themselves, or they want to, play at the next level, I mean, we work with all range of kids.
Perfect. Cannot thank you enough, Shane, for taking the time out of your schedule. Like I said, this was long overdue. Appreciate you and everything that you shared tonight. And to everyone who's a part of our audience out there listening, thank you. And we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks. 3R Basketball, powered by Under Armour, is coming to Cleveland this fall. Get your 3-on-3 team together and register at ua3rbasketball.com.
Thanks for listening to the Hoop Heads podcast, presented by Head Start Basketball.